I assume you guys can see my screen, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so today, inshallah, will be the final lecture on the series of lectures we started a couple of weeks ago on the basic fundamental concepts of object-oriented design, and we started our discussion from objects and classes, and how to identify behaviors, and what's the concept of inheritance, associations, aggregations, and the other day we also talked about the abstraction and the interface concepts. So today, inshallah, we'll try and finish this series of lectures, and hopefully we'll have some time towards the end as well to do our activity as well, our first class activity. So today we're going to focus on this concept, which is basically some advanced class modeling concepts, extension mechanisms, and the concept of association classes and refined classes. And as I said, inshallah, hopefully we'll have some time towards the end. We'll see if we can finish the class activity as well. If we're not able to do that completely, at least we'll do it. Maybe at least one question out of it. So and hopefully with this we'll be done with the basic fundamental concepts of design, and from next week onwards we'll move on to next level, starting with architecture, or even before that, what are the good design principles, and then we'll move into architecture and other design concepts. So let's move on and go straight to the concept of extension mechanisms. Now, anything comes to your mind when I'm saying extension mechanisms?
Yes.
Go ahead, please.
I use the language Swift, which has extensions. It's
Yes.
basically you add more features to the class, which makes it easier to use the class in overall.
Yep.
And that's what I know about extensions.
Perfect. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, please.
It's like instead of building if for example you have something to do, instead of building it from scratch, you just need the extension, and it will work fine for you.
Yeah, as a concept, yes. Yeah. So we have some basic building blocks, and now there is some new requirement, some new thing I need, which is not there in the original one. So I'll use these extension mechanisms to kind of incorporate that, right? Spot on. So basically, this is the idea of extension mechanisms, is that, in UML, that UML is a de facto industry standard, right? So basically, all majority of the industry, if not everyone, uses UML at one stage or another during their development life cycle, and they use it to model different aspects of applications. But sometimes as designers, we might have to add or need extra information in our models or in our design documents, and sometimes we don't even have that concept available in the UML itself, and we want to still use UML, but but we still want to use UML, but the new concepts we were talking about is still not there. So UML by default allows you to go on and extend the UML meta model. So there are two kinds of extensions usually available within UML. One is what I call them lightweight extensions. And basically, they are your stereotypes, constraints. You can have tag definitions or tagged values. While on the other hand, we have something called the UML profiles, which are, usually classified as heavyweight extensions. And basically here you go on and extend the meta model itself. Now, I'm using the word meta model a couple of times here, or I have used meta model. What is the meta model? What exactly it is? What's a UML meta model? Any guesses? Not really. Okay. So UML meta model is actually, when you have in UML, actor, inheritance, right? We looked at this one the other day, the interface, right? Now, what is a symbol and what kind of things it can have it in it, and all of this information is actually part of what we call UML meta model. Okay. Is this clear now? So this all information, what symbols are there, what they really specify, how you can use them, this is defined in something called UML meta model. Now, when it comes to extension mechanisms, UML profiles are the ones which allow you to go on and extend the meta model itself. In other words, UML profiles can go on and add a new symbol. Like, for example, if you're working on security and maybe you want to show a hacker in your model, so this is not a part of the original UML meta model. So you can go on and extend it and add a new one specific to your domain. And hence you are actually extending UML meta model, and you are trying to create something called security profile. Is this clear?
Yes.
Right. While on the other hand, the lightweight extensions do not go on and add new symbols or any new notations there. No, they just use already built in extension mechanisms like stereotypes, constraints, and tagged values to further enhance their models and make it, explicit and more expressive for certain parts.
But Doctor?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
If someone else saw this new symbol that I extend, how he could know the meaning of it? Like, I know, but he is like another person that I'm working with, for example.
Good. Yeah, good question. That's why OMG group, which kind of maintains the meta model, UML meta model, it allows you to extend it, and then they also register well-established UML profiles, right? So for example, for a security profile, it's registered with them, and they acknowledge that the industry has added these new symbols, and they specify this aspect.
So it's kind of a conventional way.
Yes. So OMG group, which is responsible for maintaining of the UML meta model, also keeps tracks of UML profiles as well. Of course, if I create one which is specific to my own company and I don't want to be registered and don't want to be officially there in the OMG group, I can still do it. All right. And this is something a lot of people do anyway. Because, for example, you're working on a data warehouses, you're working on the security aspects, you're working for cloud computing, and you still want to use UML because UML is a de facto industry standard, and everybody understands it. So if you draw a model in a UML, everybody will very quickly understand it. So that's why people still want to use UML, but it's not designed. The original UML model is not designed for example, cloud computing or security, as specific as a domain. So you can always go on, and whatever the specific concepts you have in your own domain, you can go on and create profiles. Now, those profiles could be purely internal profiles, or you can make them actually officially registered with the OMG to make it like, well, across the board as well. Okay. So let's look at some examples here. Stereotypes. Basically, it allows you to go on and add more semantics to the existing elements in the meta model. They do not change the structure. So because it's a lightweight, so it does not go on and change the structure of UML. It just enriches it with more meaning, more semantic information. Something like this. So if this is your customer, original, icon. So you can go on and, for example, even put it like tag like this, right? In this less than and greater than symbol signs. And when you're going to look at, so though despite this is your class symbol, by putting an actor stereotype on top of it, you're telling me as a model, as a designer, as a reader, that okay, this is not really a typical class. It's just that's it's an actor. Or you can go on and even use symbol like this here as well. So you're basically not creating a new symbol as such. You're using the existing ones. So you're kind of putting the actor on top of your class diagram symbol, and you're just telling me, that this is, this is not really a class, it's just an actor. Okay. Similarly, this is like original. So it doesn't, this is your basic original class, the one you use every day, because it doesn't have any of those stereotypes, symbols, or any of other, embedded symbols at all. Comments is something which is again very common, and you can add textual information to your models, or you can also have constraints which allows you to add semantic information on your models as well. So basically the constraints are usually shown in a UML model under these curly brackets, while comment itself is just a note. Both of these and the stereotype is already available in UML meta model. Hence, most of the UML modeling tools you will use will allow you to do this. Okay, so it's already available, and it's quite heavily used by the industry as well. For example, let's look what's happening here. So they have this comment, what you call note. So you can add a comment here which says that, when I come and read your model and it says e-campaign ticket, you can go and say, so basically you're telling me a bit more information here. You're saying add operations to compute tickets sold and tickets left, right? While constraints could be more like, each ticket is only within a certain, campaign or whatever, right? Are you able to realize the benefit of extension and some potential uses of them?
Yes.
Okay, so it's not very hard. Anybody has a question on this? The whole idea behind showing you guys this concept of extension here is to tell you that you can, hey, there is a basic UML meta model which you're going to use most of the time, but sometimes you might need to enhance your models by giving writing a bit of comments on it, some semantic informations or constraints. You can do it by using the lightweight extension, which is already available in the UML, or you can even go beyond that and create your own symbols by using the UML profile idea and basically create some specific profiles for your specific domain. So far, so good?
Doctor?
Yes, please go ahead.
What's the green symbol before the methods and attributes?
These ones?
Yes.
Okay, no. See, there are so many different drawing tools, right? So some of these drawing tools, probably, if I understand this one, this is like a private, attributes. And these are your public variable methods.
Okay, I see.
Right. So because different tools have, different ways of showing it. Can I be confident here that everybody is understanding that you can have extensions and why you will need extensions and how you can use them? Of course, we're not expecting here to create new profiles as such.
Yeah, it's clear.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so now let's move on to our last concept for these series of discussions we were having in the last 2 weeks, which is the concept of association classes and refined classes. Again, before I talk about it, anything comes to your mind? What's an association class? What exactly it will be? Go ahead, please.
Assalamu alaikum. Association is like the relationship between classes.
Yeah, a relationship. Yeah, go ahead, carry on.
And how they interact with each other.
Yeah, you're nearly there. Nearly there.
Yes, just that.
Yeah. Exactly, and that the name itself is telling us, actually, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anybody else like to share his thoughts?
Data interaction with the actor and class, or class with another class.
Data interaction or sharing of information between classes. Yeah. Okay, so let's look at this. Now, typically, when we're using many-to-many associations between two classes, each association or an instance of that specific association can have its own attribute values, right? Now, in other words, what I'm saying here is that let's assume I have a class here and I have another class here, and these two classes have a relationship between them. Now, because of this relationship or this association, there are certain attribute values. So there are certain attribute values which are there because of this relationship between these two classes. These attribute values are actually only there for the reason of the association between these two classes, class A and class B. They don't really belong to either one of them. They are there only because there is a association between two classes. Now, where to store this information? Because from an abstraction concept, they don't belong here, they don't belong here. Hence, you need something called association classes, as the name suggests, that you need a class where you can go on and store these attribute values. And because this class is there because of the relationship between two classes, we're going to call them association class. So we use this concept of association class to model these values. Can we think of an example here?
Doctor, can I say, for example, student and a course, and we need a register method or an enrollment class to link between these two classes?
Exactly. That's a very good example, to be honest. Very good example. Any other scenarios comes to mind where this may happen? Now, I will have another example with you, but let me share with you a possible scenario, which I'm pretty sure all of you guys have experienced. Now, and I'm just gonna put the number here. It doesn't mean it's a real number. So for example, from Dammam to Jeddah or Dammam to Riyadh, Saudi, for example, has every day they have a flight, say for example, SWE316-LEC or something like this, right? Every day, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, 7 days a week, it always goes like this at 8 a.m. in the morning. But this flight itself, each individual, the number remains the same. Have you experienced this? The number remains the same, but every day it's a unique flight, correct?
Yes.
So you cannot just create a flight number SV728 and keep a record of it. And so, for example, you keep a record of the Sunday flight, and then, the next day on Monday, you basically go on and override the same information. You can't afford to do that, isn't it? Though the flight number is still the same, the destination and the origin is still the same, the time is still the same, but each flight is actually a unique flight. All right.
Yes, Doctor. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So basically, you will have a lot of cases where you want to preserve the data as well, right? And then that data or those attributes values are actually coming up because of some relationships between different classes. So I just gave this example just to help you visualize this scenario. Let's look at another example. So have a quick read of the first bullet point here now.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So basically, we have an employee class, and they have unique IDs and names and so on and so forth. No rocket science there, right? Okay. Now have a read of this and this one now. Can someone help us summarize this? What's happening here? So you have a certain salary levels, right?
Yes.
And you can have a minimum and a maximum salary, right? For that level.
Yes.
And the salary range for a level never changes, right? So if there is a need to change the minimum or maximum, a new salary level is created. And of course, you are also interested in storing the start and the end date of each salary level. Okay. And the last thing. Previous salaries of employees are kept. You want to store the start and the finish date. And any changes in the employee's salary within the same level are also recorded. So how are you going to solve this problem now?
You mean how do we create the classes? How do we relate them to each other?
Yeah, exactly.
Of course, we're going to have an employee class.
Yes.
And we are going to have a salary level class. I think.
Fair enough.
And there gonna be something in the middle.
Something in the
Yes,
middle.
could be a catalog, for example, that stores all levels that the employee have passed through.
Exactly. Exactly.
Would be the current level.
So something that we have, or to save the record of that employee.
Exactly. Something to save the record. Even you can think it, to be honest, if you want to think it from purely from a database perspective, it will also help you.
Yeah, actually, I got that concept from a database. Yeah.
Exactly. Because they use the same concept there. And actually, you know, that is on the database design side. This is on the coding side.
It's just a table instead of class.
Yeah, exactly. Especially for this case. So what exactly are our requirements here? We have an employee which has certain basic information, right? We have information about salaries, right? And then we also want to keep track of what are the previous salaries this employee had, right? And this is a very typical scenario in any company, right? So for example, you know, you can have a scenario where Muhammad joined Aramco at level 10, and you know, he was there in level 10 for 1 year, and then he promoted to level 11, and then his salary level changed, right? So on and so forth. It's a very common scenario, right? So this means for sure we'll have, and I like your special attention here, guys. Unfortunately, I can't see you guys, so I'd like you to especially pay attention here, because this is probably, you know, an important point to understand for us. So we have an employee class, and then we have the salary levels, right? And I'm creating something called association class. I'm taking and keeping a record of the salary history. My first question to you guys is, yeah, go ahead, please.
And why did we create this class?
The association class, right? Why we did it, right?
Yes.
I was just about to ask the same question. Why I'm putting this salary history information here, not here or here?
Is it because of abstraction perspective?
Yes, abstraction principle is playing a role here, definitely, because this is to do with the history. This is to do with the level, and these levels are, you know, for everyone. But while this history is specific to an employee, isn't it?
Yes. Shouldn't we have in the association class? Shouldn't we have an employee variable and the salary level variable?
To link them from a primary foreign key perspective.
Yes, maybe.
Yeah. Okay. I'll comment on this.
Yeah. Doctor.
Yeah, go ahead, one by one, please. Yeah, go ahead.
If we, I think we use salary history association because it's changing among the time.
Yes, so we want to keep track of the changes, like the SW flight, like the Saudiya flight, right?
Employee ID is still the same, and minimum salary and max salary for each level is not going to be changing, but state date and end date will change every level.
Yes, true, absolutely. So we want to keep track of this.
Yes.
Anybody else would like to make a comment here?
Yes, Doctor. In the previous slide, it says to change anything in the minimum or maximum salary, we have to create a new salary level, maintaining the previous date, the previous start date and end date. So this is not possible without having a side object like salary history association, because it contains the dates we need.
Exactly. And this is a very, very common scenario. And you will come across this pretty much most probably in any database-driven application, right? So on our side, on the design side, we have this concept which is called association class. And now I hope this makes sense when I was saying that, there is a relationship between classes, and these values, these attribute values, are there because of the relationship, right? Which is happening here. This salary history is actually there because for an employee, he belongs to a certain employee salary level, and for within the salary level, he has a specific information about his starting and ending date and so on and so forth, right? So to solve the problem, one solution is use concept of association class. Now, by looking at this from a modeling perspective, by looking at the symbols, by using this symbol, you are telling me that this salary history association class exists because there is association between employee and salary levels, and this data is there for each employee and each salary level. So this is a very specific attribute values because of this relationship. So I can all the description I just mentioned in plain English and going through it, this can be done by just drawing like this. Okay, and it can be conveyed to your database designer or your source code writer and so on and so forth. Another very, very important observation here, and I like your special attention here as well. Have a close read of this one. For association classes, there can be only one instance of salary history association for each pair of link of instances of employee and salary. So if you use association class, this is by default comes in. Everybody is clear on this point?
Yes.
Okay, so if the moment you will decide as a designer that I'm going to use association class, this will mean, you will have only one instance of this association class. Okay.
Excuse me, Victor.
Yes, please.
One instance means only one object for all the employees objects.
Only one object. So for a given object E1, right? And for a given object S1, you will only have one salary history object.
Okay, that's great.
All right. So this one will you cannot have multiples here. So this is a rule of association class.
Yes, thank you.
Cool. Now, can I be confident here that I can move on, right? Some show of hands will give me a confidence here.
دكتور.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
راح يا غالي.
Doctor, I have a question.
Yes, go ahead, please.
You said that we can think of it from a database perspective.
Yes.
If we think of it as a database perspective, what should we think? Should we make this association class, or should we think as if we saving it in a table or something?
Yeah, from a database perspective, this is telling me that I need to have a salary history table. Right?
Yes.
Yeah, so the reason I said that you can think it from a database perspective is because when you look at these requirements, this set of requirements, it immediately tells you that I need to create some kind of a salary history table for sure, because I want to keep track of the previous salaries. All right. Yeah. And the same thing is happening here from a code perspective, is that hence you need to create some kind of an history class. And this history class, if you're going to use the concept of association classes, is telling me that you need to create an history class, and this history class only exists for a given employee and a given salary level. There is actually going to be one history class for that. Right?
Yes, clear, Doctor. Thank you.
Perfect. Now, there was a question about the reference, right? That you will have an employee or a salary composition key or something like this. So objects of the salary history will be derived. Of course, they will derive their identity because it is an association between association class, because it exists because of the association between employee and salary history or salary level. Sorry. Hence, you will going to identify the objects of salary history via a reference to the employee and the salary level. Yes, definitely. So the primary keys will refer to employee and salary level, and the reason they will do it because this modeling graphically is telling me that this salary history is there because of relationship between employee and a salary level. Okay. Not two salary history objects can have the same composite key, because we know that there's going to be one instance of this. Now, I'm going to try and slightly make the life a bit more complicated and more realistic. I'm going to have a new requirement here now. Previously, we were only interested in what? We were previously only interested in keeping a track of start and finish date or the last date for a specific level, and what is the salary. Now, of course, within a level, his salary might have changed, but in the previous one, we were not really concerned about what his salary changed within the same level, right? Which is very normal case, by the way, right? You say, for example, Muhammad joined Aramco at level 9 or level 10. He was there for the 1 year on that same level, but within that same level, because there is a minimum and a maximum value for a level, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Doctor.
Sorry, I kind of. So there is a minimum and a maximum. So here, basically, in the original case, we were not worried about that. We were only worried about, start and the final date, and we just want to keep record of the salary he has. But if you are interested in now also keeping a track of the salary within the same level, can you do it here?
I don't think so.
If I can't do it, why I cannot do it, to be honest? That's the first question.
Because I have to create a new object
exactly.
with the same composite keys.
Exactly. Jazakumullah khair. Everybody understood this?
Yes.
Right, because remember, association class only can have one instance. Now, the moment you say I want to keep track of the salaries within the same level as well, this means you got to have multiple objects. And association class as a concept does not allow you to have multiple instances between the same relationships, right? So what I'm gonna do now, I have something called refined classes. So since we all discussed this, an association class cannot have duplicates among its references. This is just a rule. So we introduce something called refined class, which is a kind of independent of the association class, and it doesn't put this restriction. Again, the refined class is existing because of the relationship, but now it does not put this condition of having only one object. So the primary key for the refined class does not use attributes that designate related classes. So it does not do that, unlike the association class. what it does, that if there needs to be many instances of salary history for each pair of employee and salary level, basically, you know, we can use this concept of required classes, and this is usually required when you're going to have a typical modeling problem of keeping track of temporal or historical data, and which is a very, very common thing, by the way. So the moment you're going to have an issue of modeling an application which is going to need an historic information to be stored, probably the first thing I believe it should come to your mind now, it should be that maybe I need required classes to handle this problem. One potential solution is this one. So what we have done now and how we have solved the problem.
It's like you're saying that every employee have one or many salary history required classes, and every salary history required have one salary level for just that. Correct.
So for a given salary level, I can have, because within the same level, I can have multiple minimum maximums. So I want to keep track of it. This means for a given salary level or for an employee, he can have multiple salary level histories, and I can keep track of, you know, what his changes were within the same level. So what's this guy doing? Or how this is being done?
It's like you're recording the sequence of the record, like record 1, record 2, record 3, and so on.
Yes, for the different salaries he had within the same level, right?
Right.
So basically, the sequence number is storing the sequential number of the salary changes of an employee. Every object of the salary history association belongs to a single employee object and is linked to a single salary level. So you can have an E1 object here, an S1 object here, and now you can have multiple salary history objects here now. Which solves the problem, right?
Doctor, how exactly would solve the problem?
Because now I'm allowed to go on and create multiple objects of the salary history. And I can have a, for example, Ahmed, he is working on Aramco for level 10, and then his first sequence will be, you know, he joined in January, and he draw a salary X till March, right? Then I can create another object of sequence number 2, where from April to July, you know, he's still in the same level 10, but now he's getting X plus Y.
Yes.
Which was not possible in association class. Why it was not possible in association class?
Because for each salary level, it must be associated with only one salary history class.
Jazakumullah khair. Spot on. Alhamdulillah. Looks good, isn't it?
Yes. Thank you. Clear, Doctor.
Yes.
Perfect. And this is a very, very, you know, common scenario we'll come across. A lot of times you will come across this scenario, especially any database-driven application. And you will really find this, especially the concept of refined classes will be very, very handy. Someone can ask me, well, if, you know, I'm not going to use association, when I'm going to use association class, if you know, the reason you have association class is because sometimes you like to force only one object as a designer, right? So with refined classes, you cannot force it. But when you draw it as an association class, you will force it. Right? So you have the tools with you now as a designer. Now, I was planning to do a bit of an activity with you guys, but I think we only have a couple of minutes. What I will do now is I'll just show you the activity so that we get a bit of hang of it, right? And we're going to try one thing here, by the way. I did it with my other section as well. So I'm going to try it with you guys as well for the next 1 minute. Are you able to see the screen?
Yes.
Okay. So we will not try to solve it now. But for example, I have this question, and someone would like to, you know, for example, draw it. I like to just ask one of you to kindly share his screen. There's an inbuilt white box, whiteboard in Teams. Can you just go ahead and volunteer to share the whiteboard from your side and maybe draw something there so that we can use this inshallah on Sunday to do this activity and other activities as we'll do in the semester? Someone can volunteer to do that, please.
I have shared, Dr. my whiteboard. Can you see it?
It's coming. I can see something's happening here. Yes, we can see it. All of us can see it, please. Some show of hand will help us.
Yeah, I can see it.
Cool. So inshallah, we'll use this functionality. Yes. And I think we should be able to even draw ourselves as well. And other people can also draw. Someone can draw it. Muhammad, you can draw it?
I can draw now.
Yes, perfect. And I think we can also draw. Okay, so inshallah we'll use this as our tool for our activities because you know we have a lot of modeling, and in modeling you cannot just talk, you need to see as well, right? So we'll use inshallah this as our collaborative tool, inshallah, right?
Oh.
Okay, so I'll stop the recording. Let me take the attendance here, and